you're looking for someone who's got your back, if you're looking for somebody who's going to say, I'm going to stand with the young people, Professor Marcel Salas is that person. He doesn't just talk it. He walks it. He is that person. He is that one that will show up when you say, I need you by my side when we're fighting this battle. We're welcoming for his inaugural appearance here on Igniting Change, Professor Marcel Salas. Professor, welcome aboard.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much. And we understand that Mawuli Davis. Hey, Mawuli, thank you for joining.
Hey. Oh, absolutely. Professor Salas, good. I got your book, sir. I got your book.
Uh-oh. I got to get the book. Daryl, we got to get the book. Why don't we just quickly, as we open, why don't we hear Professor Salas tell us about your book real quick so everybody out here can hear about it and go buy it.
Okay. Well, quickly, in San Antonio, Texas, people always hear about the Alamo, but they don't hear about the real story. The real story is it was all based on slavery. And the title of my book is The Alamo, a Cradle of Lies, Slavery, and White Supremacy. And that's a whole nother view of the Alamo. That's the real story, not the fake one.
Say it again. Say the name of the book again.
The Alamo, a Cradle of Lies, Slavery, and White Supremacy.
All right, folks, you heard it. Don't say that we didn't try to bring some learning to you. That is an opportunity to buy a good book that's going to give you some new insight on the mythology, the racist mythology of the Alamo. So we can't wait to learn more. Thank you so much. So we have a question for all our guests to get us started. As everybody may know, but if you don't, I don't blame you because there wasn't a lot of media about this. But last Friday was the 57th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Killed, murdered, because he was fighting for justice, for racial justice, for social justice. He was a peacemaker, opposed to the Vietnam War. He, helped to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964. He was instrumental in the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He put his life literally on the line day after day, marching and fighting for economic and racial and social justice. And during Friday, you may not have heard one tribute to him on any radio station, on any TV, in social media, but on the 4th, Mawuli Davis had the social justice panel, and we paid tribute to Dr. King, as we do today. We paid tribute to him and his life and his legacy. My question to each of the guests is, what, for you, has Dr. King's legacy meant? So I'm going to start with Mawuli Davis. Mawuli?
Yes. It's really deep the more I've had an opportunity to look at Dr. King, especially being based here in Atlanta, and just looking at the tensions that existed in the Atlanta organizing efforts. Many, obviously know of his assassination in Memphis, of his great work in Montgomery and him traveling throughout the South. But I've been really intrigued by his work in the city of Atlanta and what I would consider his class suicide. Right? He could have just been a preacher with a PhD who just from this family. His father was very well respected, was a power broker here in Atlanta. He could have just rested on that, but instead he leveraged his privilege. Even, and I know that sounds kind of strange that as they would say, a Negro preacher in the 1950s and 60s would have privilege, but he did have some privilege. He leveraged it. He discarded what many told him to do and just to focus on being in the church. And he went out and he worked and organized with everyday, ordinary, working class people. And that is resonated with me deeply, that I'm reminded of our need to work across socioeconomic and interest of Black people. And I just embrace that part of his story that I don't think is told enough. And the courage and the daring that he had to take, because he was criticized by so many in our community because of his willingness to confront this system of white supremacy, and at the same time the class struggle as well.
Wow. Wow. Alex, you helped to lead in San Antonio one of the 1,300 marches and rallies and protests around the country. I have seen numbers as high as millions of people who came out, as even the worst cynic has to give it at least 500,000 people or more who came out across the country. I mean, listen, looking at some of those pictures from New York, Chicago, Atlanta, just looking at pictures from little cities that nobody would have thought would have turned out, all the turnout, all of the people who walked in King's tradition. What did it mean to you the day after King's assassination? What is his legacy meant to you as you organized those hundreds, I would say at least thousands of people who were out there in San Antonio? What did that legacy mean to you on last Saturday?
Well, I'll tell you, talk about igniting change. Dr. King ignited change, and he did that at great risk, which eventually he was assassinated. And that great risk, though, he challenged head on, face to face. He did what he had to do to fight white supremacy. And his legacy lives on in the hearts, not just of me, but in the hearts of millions of people. And by the way, we have in San Antonio, of all places, we have probably the largest march during the King holidays in the country. About 300,000 people march every year in memory and in support of what Martin Luther King stood for. And by the way, we don't, and to remember his legacy properly, we don't have a parade. We have a march. And people in a march, they carry signs like end police brutality, like, stop Trump, like end racism. So we still have a march. And those cities that have parades, y'all need to rethink that and go back to a march, because now is the time when that initial ignition that King provided us, we've got to reignite it all over again, because white supremacy they're trying to rule. There are 1,400 racist groups in this country right now. That's more than Martin Luther King ever had to deal with. So we've got a problem with white supremacy, and that's the number one enemy. It was the number one enemy from day one when the U.S. Constitution was written, because we the people never meant we the people. It meant we the white people with property. And so this fight against white supremacy, it actually is the main fight. It's supplemented by a class struggle, of course, but if you're not fighting white supremacy, then fighting just for class struggle or class bettering a class, or the working class, then you're leaving out one of the main components, and that is the struggle against white supremacy. You can't have a real struggle in this country without fighting the foundation of the birth of this country, which is white supremacy. And Dr. King gave me that, very much so, gave me that feeling that we needed to stand up, we needed to fight, and keep on fighting. So we've got to raise the level of the fight this day. We're at war, folks. We are at war right now.
Thank you. And I believe that was Mario talking, right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Salas. But I also, Alex, tell us what it meant to you also, sir. That was powerful what we just heard, but tell us, what did it mean for you, sir?
Thank you. Yeah. So I, as one of the lead organizers for San Antonio, I'm also tapped into a lot or all of the organizers for Texas, and we're always talking about our strategies and goals and how we're going to carry out protests, and MLK's name always comes up as like the symbol of peaceful protest. Like he set the standard for what that should look like or what it's going to be and how it can ignite that change that, we're talking about today. So I feel like that's a huge part of his legacy that is still, making huge waves for us. But, as the previous speaker was saying, like, we're still facing some of the issues with racism and racist groups that a lot of people, are bringing signs for to put a stop to this, to truly move forward together as people. And, that's what this whole protest really was partly about, was bringing community together, having everyone feel like they have a shared value and a sense of brotherhood.
Thank you. And, Daryl, I know that Dr. King and Ella Baker and Fannie Lou and so many are looking, John Lewis looked at Saturday and said, yes, yes, yes. Keep fighting for democracy, keep fighting against racism, keep fighting against fascism. But let's talk, Daryl, about Friday. Let's go into Friday night, and then let's talk more about Saturday. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mawuli, going into the Friday social justice panel, and just sort of listening with the precursor with what Professor Salas as well as Alex Svehla were saying about what's going on now in our country. You and Dr. J, your wife, Dr. J, put together the social justice panel, and could you share with our audience why you felt the necessity to put together this panel and what the purpose of this panel was this past Friday?
Absolutely. Our work with the HBCU All-Stars, the HBCU All-Star game was born out of social justice struggle and fight with the support of social justice organizations. And Jane and I, my wife, Dr. J, as we call her,
yes.
we just believe that it was so important to have nationally respected organizers around in the voting space to come together and really, talk about it. Like, where are we in this moment? You all have courageously fought across this country along with April England Albright, as well as Francis Johnson. Y'all have put it in, right? You've been transformative, as your organization says. Y'all have been transformative. And we just believe that it was important that first panel, where do we go from here, is really, we encourage our young people to register, to vote. You all of the organizers encourage continued civic engagement, and we just thought it was important for you all to be able to tell us after these last 100 or something days of this madness that we've experienced, and this attack on all aspects of our safety, of our humanity. Where do we go from here? And so that was important. And then the second panel that Professor Salas was on, along with Sister Deborah Omalawi from the SACAM, the San Antonio, as well as Natalie White from the Las Vegas Sparks basketball team.
Wow.
Really centering us on the importance of HBCUs in this moment. And then not to mention to have Commissioner Calvert from San Antonio.
Yeah.
Man, him and Jane exchanged notes and numbers because as elected officials, they are, they got to call it. This is white supremacy. We've got to deal with it. It's a global system of white supremacy that we are fighting against, and that we're seeing these last gasps. And that when when the end is near, people get reckless and wild, and that's what we're seeing